Hi, Marcelo.
Hi, how are you? Good to see you.
Hey, okay, so we're going to imagine that there's a brand new fictional hypothetical client engagement. It's going to be a year long. Today's day one. Okay, so we're going to talk about the first 90 days. Can you tell me what a fractional CMO is? Uh, what do you do in the first 90 days of a brand new customer? And maybe let people know before you say what a fractional CMO is and what a fractional CMO does. Let people know a little bit about you.
So, thank you very much, Dean. I am a fractional CMO and I'm the CEO right now of a small agency. I came up from the creative side, which is very unusual because I started as copywriter and then
Mhm.
I worked as a creative in like three continents, won two awards. Then I expanded into customer research, worked with literally hundreds of companies, everything from liquors, airlines, and all of that. And sort of introduced a lot of I specialize in introducing companies.
Mhm.
So I worked on the launch of like 15 Fortune 100 companies
Wow.
around the world. um, in terms of what is a fractional CMO, it's new enough that everybody seems to have their own definition. I see it as a real CMO, meaning a chief marketing officer.
Mhm.
You handle everything that has to do with consumer branding and getting things into market. But instead of buying a mediocre one at full price, you lease a really good one at maybe a third of the price. That way, you can have a lot of brains at your disposal, but at a fraction of a cost, like the Alfa Romeo that I leased.
Right.
I got a really good car at a fraction of a cost. So, first 90 days.
First
First
90
90
days.
days First 90 days is fiction. Nobody has 90 days. Nobody. I've done this many times right now. The 90-day thing, forget it. So I focused on the first 30 days. My week number one is usually spent with the C level people. Uh, C level, well, typically the CEO, but also the CFO. And if there is a sales guy who can give me input, that is
Right.
fantastic. And the point of reaching out to the CEO and the CFO is I want to know what the goals are. What does the CEO want to do with the company? Week number two, I usually spend, and I've done this quite a few times, with the team. I want to know what they do, what they think they do, the value that they bring to the company, and their goals and expectations, of course. Week number three, you put the entire thing together and you craft one plan that you present to the CEO for his approval or her approval, and then talk to the team saying, guys, this is the path. This is what they want to accomplish. This is the strategy, and these are some of the tactics that we're going to implement. Then from week number four on, it's that's it, man. You're executing, you're doing and doing and doing and testing and testing and testing. So that's my first 30 days.
All right. Tom, hi.
Hi, I'm Tom Kuhr. I'm a fractional CMO with a focus on software and technology. I came up through the sales side first and then moved into product and then into marketing. So I made really over my career, I made a point of trying to get the broadest possible experience in marketing from email marketing all the way through everything that AI lets us do right now and into tomorrow. I pulled all that together into my specialization, which is really complete go to market strategy. And that's what I help companies do. I create their go to market strategy, actually built around what their customers want. So,
So one of you came up on the creative side, one of you came up on the ad side, on
yeah.
the sales side. Interesting. Okay, so same situation. Okay, hypothetical 1 year engagement. Today's day one. Talk about the first 30, 60, 90 from a fractional CMO's perspective. Like, what do you look for? What do you try to get done? What problems do you normally see, or what problems do you go looking for because you know they're there, even though the business doesn't even know they're there yet? Like, what does the first 90, 30, 60, 90 look like?
As a fractional CMO, I look at it like having a high level marketer on your team,
Yeah.
just not with the full time commitment. Like you get the expertise and the strategic vision of a experienced marketing and, in this case, go-to-market person,
Hmm.
but it's flexible and cost-effective. Uh, the first 90 days are always challenging for the company, getting used to a new person in the marketing seat, even if they're not there full time. And that first 30 days is super critical because everyone expects a deliverable, something that's going to change immediately. And it's really hard when you step right into the role and you're just trying to figure out where the biggest problems are, where the lowest hanging fruit can be. So I really try and do an audit as quickly as possible to come up with at least one or two major changes in that first 30 days that can be executed. Usually in my experience, has been a positioning problem. Not everyone agrees on the same position, or that position has 10 different variations, or it's not crystallized enough, or the company has moved beyond its previous position and needs a new platform. And that repositioning does take a good 30 days to put in place. So buying time with some lower, let's say, easier to manage channels, getting to know the team, doing a complete 360-degree audit is really the goal that I have. But knowing that you need to make some changes pretty quickly, those are really dependent on the biggest glaring items that the person who hired me might point out, or someone else on the executive team. Usually it's coming from the marketing team. We haven't been able to do this for so long, and people keep
Right.
asking us for it.
All right. So let's shift perspective for it. Now imagine that I'm the CEO of this client, right? So you're the first fractional CMO that I've ever hired, Tom. And I probably had to, get someone, even if it was just the other CEO in my head, right? I had to get someone to agree on the spend for a 1 year position for a fractional
Sure.
CMO, right? So, I mean, how am I going to get like maximum value out of this money that I'm spending on a fractional CMO over the next year?
The real key for a CEO bringing in a fractional CMO is to really collaborate with them. They're not
Mhm.
going to be able to be effective on their own without uh, executive support and without really understanding the the main issues that the CEO is having, right? That's the high level
Right.
strategy. That's the thing that's frustrating me as the CEO, that I just can't get done, that I can't see my team doing, that I can't pull together. So spending time listening and talking through these issues is actually the most valuable part of the process. If you just say, come in and figure stuff out, you're just throwing someone into the deep end. You're not giving them the backup, the support, and
Right.
even the budget that might be required to fix the problems that you're facing.
Okay. Marcelo, I want to ask the same question, but in a different way. All right. Uh, a company brings in a fractional CMO, like 10 companies have brought in fractional CMOs. Okay. What are the common ways that they waste their money?
Ha!
What do they do that like sort of mutes or softens the strengths or effectiveness of that fractional CMO? Or what do they not do that ends up like preventing that fractional CMO from delivering maximum value from that engagement?
So I like the first phrasing a lot. What
Yeah.
do they do that wastes a lot of money?
Yeah.
The first one is they treat the fractional CMO as a consultant,
Mm-hmm.
meaning they don't give the fractional CMO. I'm going to talk about him because I'm going to talk about me essentially, and it is what it
Yeah.
is. But we can talk
I'm the
about them.
CEO. You're still you.
Yes. So the very first thing is you don't treat the fractional CMO like a real CMO, meaning giving him the power, the authority, the budget,
Mm-hmm.
even the spending limits that a real CMO would have. Like, for example, when I was executive vice president of Food and Building, I had the power of the signature to, I don't know, like $5,000 or something like that. I could sign off for 5,000 with like nobody gives a shit. So here we are. You treat somebody like a consultant, therefore you rip that person out of power. So the very first thing you would do to extract a lot of value is, one, in your head, you got to make sure that you understand this is a real CMO, except you're getting him or me or them on a fractional basis, not full time. You can't call me 24
Right.
hours a day. Second thing is you need to make sure that everybody understands, and this comes from the top. So you need to tell people, guys, this is a real CMO. People, this guy has the power that a CMO has the authority, has my backing,
It's an extension of
and
you,
he
basically.
needs, yeah, to develop, like the
Right.
plan. And the best way to get value out of that guy, the very best way to stand up later on in front of the advisory council, the board, or the other C-level people is to the first week. It is crucial, right? So the best way is be super transparent, super honest, absolutely like no ego during that first couple of weeks. Be real about what you need to accomplish, why it hasn't happened, who are the people in the department that are really going to make it happen, who are the bad apples. You might as well do that.
Right.
Get it over with, be super transparent and say, I'm counting on you. And boom, get it on the way. So to me, and the real phrase is not the devil is in the details, God is in the details. That's what the famous architect did, the guy from Bauhaus. That's what he said. It is that. It is the details of how you make the fractional CMO position happen inside your company.
Okay. So I'm still the CEO, okay, of this client. And there are some people working in a marketing team right now. It's not very big necessarily, but there's some marketers in there. Um, now that I've brought you in, I'm looking at the state of that team, capabilities, good and bad today. And let's look out even like 12 months. By the end of your engagement, what should I expect my marketing team to look like? Is it going to be better? Is it going to be different somehow? Is it going to be bigger or smaller typically? And you might not know that yet, right? But like, what's going to be the impact of having you there for a year on my current marketing team,
So
Marcelo? Yeah.
I honestly couldn't tell you whether it's bigger or smaller. Change by itself is a
Mm-hmm.
totally neutral word. It should be better. It should be way better. Now, if you have done your homework, you haven't tried to do a transition from a negative to a B positive so that the cultures mesh. If the cultures don't mesh, we're going to have a problem right on
Mm-hmm.
because then the team is going to reject the CMO and there's going to be problems. So, first things first, you must do that homework. The second part is there's got to be a moment in which the CMO really meets with the team and says, guys, we're all pulling in the same that direction. Let's forget about all of the egos. Let's forget about all of the silos. Let's forget about all of the preconceived notions as to what you do, what I do, etc., and figure out a game plan. I would say, and they did this at Fulcon and Belding and at McCann, both, because I was part of the Worldwide Media Council.
Mm-hmm.
So I was tasked with this. You must train people. If you don't spend about 25 to 30% of your time training people on not only their job, but also how to improve it and how to learn, you're not really doing your job as a CMO. You might be a really good director of advertising, but you're certainly not a CMO. You must explain to your team why it is that you're doing what you're doing. At the end of 12 months, to be honest, you should be able to fire me and your team should work pretty well.
Right.
That is the real litmus test. Can you fire that fractional CMO and have the team not implode? If you can do that, you're on the way to success.
All right. Tom, I'm the CEO. I'm bringing you in for a year. Today's day one, right? I have my marketing team already in place. Might be just junior folks and mid-level folks, but there's people there. You're temporary. They're permanent, as far as anyone knows, right? How's my team going to be different after having you here for a year? Better or worse, different? What's the change?
Your team is going to be better. And when I come in, it is not about replacing the team, making the team bigger, or making the team smaller. It's about giving them the leadership and tying what they're doing to the overall strategy, the go-to-market strategy, the company strategy that makes them feel like they're actually driving that strategy rather than reacting. And that's one of the biggest changes that I see is really reactive marketing versus proactive marketing makes a huge difference in morale. It makes a huge difference in feeling like I'm part of this company. It's giving me a purpose every day.
Mhm.
So the overall um, skill level of the team should be increased because the team will be learning about how to tie tactics to strategy. They'll be learning new tactics. They'll be learning why a mostly an advanced go-to-market strategy is different than what you learn in books from even 10 years ago. It's radically different in how people are buying
Mhm.
today. So being able to be aligned with that, understand what new technologies are available, what that go-to-market process change is, and how the sales process changes because of that, and what their job is to support that and educate customers is um, all of the micro things that they're going to learn. So I give them the bigger picture, and really, when it comes down to team size or team expertise, it's really marrying the the tactics again to the strategy. And in marketing, everyone's tied to a certain tactic at a
Right.
lower level. They're tied to a channel. They're tied to a certain way of doing things. You might
Mhm.
have a whole content team. If content marketing is not part of the strategy, that team's going to change.
Okay. So let's switch it again. I'm not the CEO anymore. I am the 23-year-old newest hire on the marketing team. I'm just out of college. This is my first full-time job, right? Uh, I had to Google what a fractional CMO was because I'm so new to marketing. I never even heard the term before. Okay. But I've been here for a few months and you started today and you are going to have a meeting with me 15, or 30 minutes sometime at the end of the day, right? At the end of your first day. And we're going to have our first one-on-one. What kind of advice are you going to give 23-year-old Dean or Dina, right? It's like someone at the start of their career who is going to have a CMO, in their orbit for the next 12 months. What's your advice for the most junior person on day one?
The first piece of advice is they are going to learn a ton. This is
Mm-hmm.
going to be a living, breathing learning environment for them for the time that they're here. They're going to be moving from project to project, from campaign to campaign. They're really going to see what drives both the tactic side of the house and the strategy side of the house. So it's going to be an incredible learning experience. That said, they need to be ready to learn. They need to be open. They need to be thinking that they are coming in and this is like school for them,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot more fun, right? There won't be tests. The tests are
You get
going to
paid.
be the results of the campaigns, and they get paid at the same time.
Yeah.
So, the one thing that I've learned in marketing is it is critical that you're learning every day. Things change
Mm-hmm.
so quickly, tools, technologies. There's always better ways of doing things, and part of the job is actually learning about and rethinking how you're doing things all the time. And I try and bring my team along for the ride on
Yeah.
that. And the people that don't want to learn are really challenged when that strategy is married to tactics.
And Marcelo, how about you? What would you say to a 23-year-old junior marketer, first full-time marketing job Dean, on your day one, end of the day? Hi, I'm Marcelo, your Dean meeting.
So oh my God, I forget, like 1976 or something like that, I started working, right? And I had my three bosses, because I had like, different groups,
Sure.
were three of the most recognized people in advertising in Spain at the time. They were like the masters of the universe. So one of them, Pepe Muguerza, comes to me day one. He says, listen, shut up and listen, but listen carefully. Listen with common sense, meaning don't believe everything you hear. I would tell the same thing to a person. Uh, you're bound to find, and I have found this in the many departments that I've headed all over the world. You find really stupid guys, really stupid people at the beginning that they try to prove you wrong all of the time. They try to be better and all of that. Those people get fired right away. So let's say you stay with the guy or the people who want to really learn. I would say that shut up, listen carefully, listen with common sense, read a lot, and then you, to me, adopt me as your mentor, because there's a lot of knowledge that is just part of you as you move into the CMO position that, like Tom says, it isn't even taught in the universities. This is something that is taught in real life. So adopt me as a mentor, and then let's work together. Ideally, at the end of that, let's say 60 days, whatever. Ideally, what you want is that person to learn how to learn. Not so much learn stuff, which is kind of like useless because stuff is outdated in about a couple of months these days. But learn how to learn. Where do I get information? How do I evaluate information? How do I think logically and rationally about the information that I'm acquiring? And how do I put all of the pieces together? Because that's where marketing is. You put all these pieces together, knowledge about the consumer, new media trends, creative solutions. You put all of that, and then all of a sudden you have a campaign that drives sales and profits.
I have some previous guests said that there's some advice they'd gotten. I think this will stick with me the rest of my life. Someone had said to them, no one will ever remember the stupid questions you ask. They'll only remember the stupid assertions you make. So try not to pretend you know something, but feel free to ask even the dumbest question you want, because even the dumbest questions end up yielding answers that people hadn't thought about in years.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah.
Okay.
I like the shut up and listen carefully.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the 70s. It was a different time. You could tell an employee to shut up and listen back then.
I know.
Yeah. Okay, so Marcelo, before we wind down, two things. Okay, one, I'm gonna ask you to ask Tom any question you want, but before you ask Tom any question you want, I'm gonna ask you, there are easier ways to make a living, bro, right? Than being a fractional CMO. It can be an incredibly frustrating job sometimes. So, why do this job? Why don't you have just a nice, cozy, corporate job somewhere? Why do this job?
One, I don't have the cozy, nice corporate job because I'm too old, and there's something called age discrimination.
Fair enough.
So that companies don't want to hire 69-year-olds to be the head or whatever. So it's most of the time I've seen it is not something you choose. It is something that destiny has chosen for you.
Yeah.
So you deal with it. The life give you lemons kind of thing. So you make this lemonade and you deal with it. However, as a CMO, one of the things, and I've been CMO now of several organizations, one of the things I really like is the ability to see the entire picture. You see the picture, you can affect the picture, you can affect the future of the company in ways that being, say, I don't know, like a VP or something or other, will never get you. So the CMO has the power to really affect the future of a company, like a CEO will,
and make
or a
an impact.
CFO will. Yeah. So that for sure. I wouldn't. I don't know. Even today, as a CEO of a small agency, I still miss the days of the CMO. I like the CMO position.
Right.
So, okay. So if I had to ask Tom one question as an expert. And by the way, we won't agree on this, but nevertheless, I want to hear your opinion. What do you think is the single most important thing we can do today, given all of the tools we have, because we have tons of tools, that would affect the marketing of a company?
So from a go-to-market perspective, with all of the tools that are at our disposal, assuming that a company has sort of the basics installed, what I've found actually is putting a research stage in that marketing manages, where you're doing account research, company research, contact research before it gets to the sales team. So any person looking at content marketing, coming to the website, any sort of signal saying that person's researching at this point, let's try and build a profile for them. So when we go out to them when we put them into a play or put them into a campaign, that we actually know a lot about them and what they might be looking for and what their position is and how to contact them in 3 different ways. Doing that research before the sales team, because what I found from an impact standpoint, if the sales team can focus on just the outreach, they're a lot more effective than if they're doing the research and the outreach. So from a tools perspective, there are a lot of research tools out there now, database augmentation tools, email checking tools, and even old school where you sort of have a black box of research people that feed your CRM makes a huge difference.
Okay, Tom, and
And that's not what you were expecting at all, I'm sure.
well,
It's very near.
yeah,
It's
there you
very
go.
close.
And I mean, that's pretty impressive because Marcelo's been yelled at by some of the best people in advertising over his career and told to shut up. So there you go. I say, so Tom, like same thing, right? Why do this job? And what question would you ask Marcelo?
I love this job because I love building. And what I found after being a CMO for, a few different companies is the company itself changes with a certain level of revenue or a certain number of employees, and the building, the scaling, the drive to achieve big numbers really quickly slows down. And I'm really excited about achieving big numbers and being challenged to hit those numbers. And being able to work with a number of companies all in this growing and building and scaling stage,
Mm-hmm.
it keeps me excited. It keeps me learning really, really quickly. I don't like to be stagnant, so it's a great way to do that because
Yeah.
you're not tied to the company's time frame. You can
Right.
come in and make change.
You're not just
At
seeing
any
the same problem over and over. You're seeing variations of problems and new problems across multiple companies. I guess every
Right.
new client gets to benefit from, what you saw didn't work and did work somewhere else.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a benefit for the client for sure.
All right. And then, like, as a fractional CMO, what question would you ask another fractional CMO like Marcelo here?
I would. I'm always interested to see what their perspective is on sort of the product marketing side of things,
Mm.
and how many times Marcelo, out of your last 10 engagements, how many times have you had to improve positioning for a company?
Good question, because honestly, the problem is I don't believe in positioning per se. I think branding is misunderstood by about 90% of people I speak with, clients, not saying you, but positioning, branding, all of that doesn't exist. It only exists in the mind of your consumer. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
You might think that you're positioned as whatever, for real, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then you talk to consumers and they have a completely different idea of what it is that your company means for them. So it is not so much a question of repositioning the company. It's a question of finding out first, what are your expectations as a customer about this company? And then trying to see whether you as a company would like to do that or not. It's hard to explain without bad mouthing a couple of clients, but let me good mouth one of them, Nabisco. I relaunched Nabisco in all of Latin America. I can't remember, like 15 countries, and I gained 20 pounds that year because I had to try all of the damn Oreo cookies all over the place. But we did reposition this because we figured out what it is that the company wants from every one of the crackers and the cookies. What do they want from Oreos? What do they want from Galletitas Express? What do they want from this? And then we told the company, guys, do you really agree with this? Yeah, we agree with this. Okay, then we match the company to the ready-made image that most of the consumers already had of Nabisco in Latin America. So I agree with your point that there's a repositioning at some point, but I see it maybe from another point of view, which is, you got this mass of consumers. And by the way, I'm coming very much from a B2C perspective, because that is my specialty. So I see this mass of people, and I see that you need to adequate yourself to that. So, you know,
So that's
I
kind
guess
of what I mean about
building.
repositioning. You're matching the customer's expectations. Most people think of positioning as here's what I want to do as the company. It's actually here's how you should fit into the customer's life because here's what they expect and here's what they
Yeah.
want.
Exactly. I super agree to that. How do you fit into your customer's life?
Right.
And you got to address that one by one by one. You know, if you
Yes.
are Oreo cookies, you fit into your customer's life completely differently than, for example, McDonald's, which I launched in Mexico. Completely different. But both of you must find that fit. How do I
Yes.
fit? What is the value that I bring to these people?
And that's it. It's fit and value. That's what positioning to me is anyway.
Yeah,
And maybe I'm using the wrong word when describing it, but that's what I
hey,
learned in school.
we're both ancient. We're entitled to our opinions. Damn it.
I'm not ancient. I'm a 23-year-old junior marketer. We just said so.
You're learning every day.
I'm learning every day. I'm asking dumb questions, but not saying stupid things. There you go. So that's it. Thanks so much, guys. Episode 75 and the final episode of season 3. So that asking each other questions, complete curveball that I just threw in there for episode 75. But I think I'm going to keep it. That's pretty good. I really liked it. You guys did great on that. So thanks, Marcelo. Nice to see you. And thanks, Tom. Nice to see you.
And Dean, congratulations on your 75
Ooh,
episode.
boy.
Very much.
Yeah,
You know,
that's a
and here's
big
to the
number, Dean.
next. Yeah, we'll be expecting the next 75.
There you go. And thanks everyone for watching. You're probably watching this in a clip if the analytics are saying anything truthful. So hope you enjoyed it.